Hi there, welcome to the latest of my 10-minute, but it will be more than 10-minute live moans. And I thought we'd do something a bit different today. I thought we would invite people that watch the show and listen and leave comments, come up and have a blether and tell me, Houston, we have a problem, and tell me what your problems are in your communities or your neighbourhoods all across the United Kingdom. I've spent probably the last 2 to 3 weeks touring all over, apart from Wales, but I'll rectify that soon. I've been to Northern Ireland, Glasgow, Edinburgh, London, Dover, and even went over to Cali. And I've been listening to people on my travels, and the majority of people have the same concerns as UK citizens. So, what I want, I've already got one guest lined up. Shona's been in just before we went live. She's obviously wanting to say a few things about her area. If anybody else is willing to come up, please don't be shy. Go into the comments on YouTube, sorry, the description on YouTube. You'll see a link, click that, and it'll bring you straight into the studio. And if you really fancy it, when you ask you into the studio, it'll ask you if you want to share this on your social medias. So if you've got a Facebook page with family and friends, or a YouTube channel, or an X account, you can click that and all your pals will see it. So, just before I get our first brave guest in, I just want to share something I got just before coming on tonight. Bad news, Sandra and Alison Ross are two women that I've known their families for a long time, over 10 years, maybe, in fact, maybe about 15 years. And Nan, their mum, passed away last night. Nan is 90 years of age. I've known her for, she was a young thing in her late 70s, early 80s. She's a lovely woman. She's from that generation that were much stronger than us. Had more about them, more commitment, more morals, more standards. And unfortunately, she's passed away. So I just thought I'd pay respects to her and her family and pass on my deepest condolences to them all, because they're really, really good people. And I'm sure Nan would have been tuning in tonight. She's a great wee woman. So, now, the show. So the first person we've got up is, all right, add her in. Hi, Shona. Hold on, got you in mute because I think you were swearing earlier. So how are you, Shona? Well, first of all, where are you from?
I'm from Stewarton, but before we go any further, can I also offer my condolences and say that is the generation that we should all be following the example of. I could not agree more. Brilliant generation.
Yeah.
Brilliant role models. And by God, where would we be if that generation had the internet?
Yeah. Aye. What I've said to a few folk recently, Shona, is see the generation before us. We've kind of let them down. We're probably the first generation in the history of the world that are handing a society in a worse position than how we received it for the generation before us. So when I was over in Cali, I saw a lot of war memorials, that sort of stuff. And I spent a bit of time. I want to spend more time when I go back over, going maybe further away to Ypres and Thrickville and places. But when you're in these areas, and I was in a thing, it was like a bunker system, German bunker system, just looking over the dunes at Dunkirk. I was thinking, 80 years ago, your brave men would have been coming off that beach, and there would have been other men here. Probably didn't want to be there either, to be perfectly honest with you, mowing them down. And our generation and the next one, I don't think they could do that at all. So anyway, Shona, start off. You're the first person in, so you need to start this the way we're going to go on. What's the first thing your sentence has got to start with before you tell us about your problems?
There's a motto in my work.
All right.
That common sense is too common for the government to use.
Well, that's not the saying that we have to get as a thing in here. It's Houston.
I want common sense.
Well, Houston, we have a problem, and crack on and tell me what your problem is.
Houston, we really have a problem. We have a problem. And it's called lack of common sense and logic.
Right.
Lack of practical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And also just the way that when people with these practical ideas that can get communities going are just absolutely ignored and passed by. And there's countless examples I can use over the years of some common sense things that could really get communities fixed, and they're just not listened to. And it gets to the point where you don't know how to get listened to without then being labelled as you're far this or far that. But a really good example would be a few months back, myself and quite a few other parents were very unhappy to hear that my wee girl was being given news round at school.
Given what?
The news round.
Right, okay.
The kiddies version of it on the BBC from primary 1 up. And my little girl came home asking me when her daddy was going to war. She's 7
When her
at
daddy
the
would
time.
go to war?
When her daddy was going to war. She was 6 at the time. She's now 7.
Oh.
So first, myself and a lot of other parents wanted to raise it, but I was concerned about raising it because I didn't want my girl becoming disadvantaged by being labelled far right, because I'm not. I'm middle. Middle's common sense.
Yeah.
But we didn't really seem to be getting anywhere with it by just speaking to the head teacher at the time. And a few weeks later, I then found out, oh, it's still happening. So I went up to the school and I asked the deputy head about it. And our first reaction was, I said, sir, do you realise this is a PG programme? Is it? And I'm thinking, you're in charge of my child, you should know that. And if a child is shown a PG programme at school, they're supposed to have a consent form signed first. PG is 6 to 12. They'd been shown this since they were 5. And there was previous incidents of kids asking about things that, frankly, they shouldn't be at that age. So that led on to me taking it to the Education Secretary. And the Education Secretary simply passed it by as, well, we're supposed to be having them kept up to date with what's happening in the world. And it would be with the teacher in the room. I'm like, fine, but what are you doing to ensure that parents are happy with that? Because I can sign my child off from being given Bible studies, which is actually, whether you're Christian or not, the moral stories tend to be quite helpful for them. But I can't sign off my child being shown a programme about war. I'm not happy with that. So got nowhere. Then, surprisingly, it was actually the Conservative shadow education secretary in Scotland that I got somewhere with. I never thought I'd see the day where I was praising a Conservative, but there you go. They said they'd look into it. They didn't get back to me, but I heard through the grapevine a few weeks later that the teachers had been sent an email that they were to stop doing it throughout Scotland, because that was my concern. I'd sorted it in local school. What about nationwide? What are your kids getting shown? But then somebody says, well, actually, they're just getting shown Topsy and Tim now while the teacher does their marking. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I pay the fee for my TV licence so that my kid can get shown TV at home. I pay for my internet subscription so they can get shown that stuff at home. I pay my tax to pay the teacher to teach my child how to read, do her mathematics, and especially in a society where amongst that generation, there's a lot of undiagnosed learning difficulties from the 1980s and 90s. But the shocking factor was I then said to the Conservative, what percentage of my child's learning is supposed to be done by the teacher and what if it can be done by a screen? And they said, well, there's actually no percentage or anything like that. There is no particular amount. And I'm thinking, well, what am I paying my taxes for? So then it leads to things being intertwined because teachers are under a hell of a lot of stress as well. Now, I disagree that teachers are supposed to be paid more money. They earn enough. compared to soldiers. And I know it's a stressful job teaching. I know it's a lifestyle choice, but so is any job. So I'm sorry. Don't need more wages. But they need a stability. They very, very few of them actually have a contract more than a term, which is going to lead to the teacher being distracted. Thus, they're, because they're human, not able to do their job to the best of their ability. They're sitting in classrooms. See, if you go to a parents' night, look at the school around you. I'll bet you there'll be crumbling plaster, heaters ready to fall off walls. Take a look in the lobbies, the state, the plumbing. In my town, you can look to the school roof from the hills above, and there's a big water crater in the middle of it when there's not been any rain for days. Why? Because the ceiling's going in, but nobody knows anything about it. And then they're wanting to, this then leads you on to the immigration thing, because you've got your special needs needing dealt with by understaffed schools. And the special needs also include children that come into the country that can't speak the language in the first place. And I get that some people really need to flee awful, awful things. But I think the basic truth of it is, I pay my taxes to hire a politician to make sure that the taxpayers' needs are met first. I'm a taxpayer. I hire the politician, and they seem to be forgetting that.
Yeah. So how did you get on when you got somebody to listen to you? Did you get a positive end result?
I'd say the only positive end result that I can say from that was hearing through the grapevine, and I really do mean through someone that I knew from one of my kids' extra classes that worked as a teacher in a different constituency. They told me they'd got an email. That was how I found out about it. It wasn't that I'd found anything back.
Nobody came back to you and said, we've changed X, Y, and Z. They just done it.
No, it is. Years ago, I had a bit of a complaint that I took up to Westminster because I've got learning difficulties. And it was something about HMRC. I owed some money. Cool. Hands up. If I forgot to pay some money, cool. But I said to them, I needed them to keep me up to date, because if I'm reading and writing after a certain time of night, my epilepsy loves it. And I struggle to read in the first place. They said, we'll get back to you. No, they didn't. And they just took 250 quid out of my account without telling me they were going to do it.
Nice.
The difference is, back then, Westminster sent me a copy of the script when the question was asked in Parliament about looking after disabled people's needs and making sure they weren't left out. There was a whole script of it left, and I was kept in the know. Scottish Parliament, which is much more local, couldn't even bother to send you an email.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's just so many of the issues that are treated as separate issues, but they're all so intertwined.
You just need somebody to say, tell me your problems, and I'll go and try and sort them, rather than having to, a one-stop shop's what you kind of need, is it not?
Another one that I could tell you I got onto them about, and they haven't been back to me, and this is more about poverty, is when I worked as a dinner lady, I don't anymore, but when I did, we would put the leftovers into trays, which would then be put into a trolley cart, left in the playground for when parents were coming to collect their kids. And you could take discreetly one of those wee trays away with you. So they then took it upon themselves recently to make pre-ordering of school meals mandatory and digital.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to them, you've obviously not been skint. I have. You could be making the difference between feeding the family or getting that phone card, because you're probably not likely to have a contract phone if you're skint.
Yeah.
You could be making the difference between getting a SIM card so that you can do that, or feeding the rain or having the electricity. And also, because you've got all these meals ordered down to the last tea, you're not going to have the leftovers to feed people. And I said to them, look, I know you'll have been to a food bank, but being to a food bank and using one is entirely different.
Yeah.
When you're skint, every single % of dignity can mean the difference between you applying for a job or making a job interview or getting a job. And that 1% that you save, you're that house proud person that's not had to go to the food bank because you could take your kids' food out of that trolley, could mean the difference. The one person I did get a reply from had said that it was all down to their economics, they couldn't afford it. And this is around the time that they just got their pay increase in Holyrood, and I'm thinking, yeah, you could have. I'm sorry, but yes, you could. There's also that factor of back to the parents that will have undiagnosed learning needs that struggle with these apps, and they don't need to be severe diagnosed. You know, they don't need to be severe learning needs to struggle with these things. But again, that gets to their. It's so intertwined between your day-to-day dignity and then how it then impacts the family home, child education, then later you're impacting the economy. It's just all so intertwined, but nobody ever really seems to see that.
And it could be a lot easier with a one-stop shop rather than have to go to every different place when you've got every single, different things. So,
Yeah.
incredible story, Shona. I'm going to bring in Shoaib now, because we'll get folk queuing up now.
Go for it.
Hello, hi everybody.
We've got is it Shoaib? See, I had a guy called Shoaib on my show the other night there, and now I've got Superman, so I'm not sure if it's the same person or not.
Yeah, it is the same person, man. Craig, thank you very much for having me. And hello to your guest. I didn't see a name. Yeah, but there is something that she was saying that I can think about this. The thing that you've just spoken about. Sorry, I didn't get your name. I don't know what your name is.
It's Shona, but yeah.
Shona, yeah, I got it, Shona. Okay. So the thing is, what you're talking about just now about being a dinner lady when you used to work there. I worked for the Swansea Council, and I was the guy who was paying the dinner. The people who were at the dinner ladies, the cleaners, everybody within that department. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and this is really sad. Because what I used to do, I used to pay out the people, and I don't know, many people have seen me talking about this in Craig's interview that I did. I think it was almost a day or 2 days ago. And when we did that, what it was that I spoke about was the fact that there were people who were getting underpaid. Just let's say if you were a dinner lady and you did an overtime, so that is not what you will get paid. You will get paid extra for that. And a lot of the time, I don't know if it's true or not. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But I know there were times where supervisor will make a mistake and the dinner lady or the cleaner will get paid a little bit less than what they're supposed to be or they're meant to be paid. And for a guy like me, I then used to get a call from the dinner ladies or the cleaners or the supervisor or the cleaners telling me that we have been paid less. And I would go to my supervisor and I would tell them, you guys have made a mistake and you need to pay this person. Now, what they would do, they would turn around and they would laugh. And like you just said, unless you have been skint, unless you have that problem where you have no savings, and you rely on all of your savings, these people will understand what this 50 or 100 pounds means if you're short. For me, if I'm short 10 pounds, that's a big difference. So I don't know if it has ever happened to you when you were working. I would like to know if that has ever happened to you.
Well, I'm still working in schools in the cleaning sector. I do need to be careful what I say there because the contract and how all that works. Right. But I've worked now in 5 schools. One of them a private school.
Okay.
And what I remember about private school was it was an incredibly different culture amongst the kids of respect. There was one time the kids had decided, since it was their last day at school, and I think it was 5th year, that they would have themselves a wee food fight. If that's a public school, we'd be made to clear it up. No, these kids were sent in to clear it up themselves like they were in some Japanese school. And I thought, you know what? Go for it. I like that. They had a kind of special room with sofas and playstations and stuff because a lot of them would get picked up late. And if it was a mess, I didn't clear it up. I was told to say to my supervisor, they cleared it up. Whereas in public schools, because there's this softly approach, you don't get that. Kids aren't learning to respect things. So that then teaches on to society when they leave school. And because they're not being made to respect their surroundings and people, it then also integrates back into how the general workplace works. What I would say is that amongst your maintenance staff, cleaners, janitors, even your workmen that come in and out of school and your catering, there is a real sense of community. And that's what keeps the schools in this country running. Because you don't get overtime in East Ayrshire. They don't have the staff to do it. You just have to squeeze more in.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of councils like that. So what I would say is, next time you're watching the news and you're feeling sorry for some teacher saying, oh, I need to earn more than £33,000 a year. Or the undergraduate that's earning 27 and a half. Oh, I failed. They're going to keep me in for another year. That is a true story. Just say to yourself, well, what about the cleaning lady that starts at 5:30 in the morning, doesn't get home till 6:30 at night because of how it all works out, and then still hasn't earned enough and has to claim the benefits, but is then labelled as being the benefits scrounger.
Exactly.
Because you're literally putting their hands down the lavy for your kids.
Yeah. And I think it's,
I love it. I love my job, but I can only afford to do it because I've got other jobs too.
Exactly. And I know a lot of cleaners, dinner ladies that I was working with. As I said, I used to pay them, and I know they have to be very much on time because they will go from a job to another job, and they'll be doing literally crazy hours. Sometimes they have to overstay. And there was one thing that I've seen, obviously, I can't discuss that too much because, like I said, I used to work for the council, but there are things going on right now in the background with the council and me losing my job and everything else. So there was a time when there was a cleaning guy. He actually went into the class after school was gone, and he was cleaning. I think he was cleaning the classroom, and there was some candies over there, like Haribo candies. I think it's like 80p, or I think £1. I'll say at most it was £1. And he decided to take 1 or 2 out of the bag, and he ate it. And somebody seen it, complained about him, and he got a full-on disciplinary. And I was part of that meeting. Obviously, like I said, it was a private meeting, and it's very confidential. I can't discuss anything, but yes, there was counselors available in that meeting. And when I was told, because that was not my job to do that meeting because I was in the payroll. I was not part of the HR in a way where I go and speak to people or dismiss people, but they asked me to work for them on that day because they were short on stuff, and I said I would do it. So when I went in there, they literally had that guy, and it was an old guy. It was a guy I think he was in his 60s, and he worked for that school for almost 25 years. And for them to literally put him there, and he took just 1 or 2 candies out of that pack, and God knows how they found out about it. But when he was there and I was there, I didn't know what was the meeting about. They would just give me a brief, and they said, you just have to make notes. And when they start talking, I couldn't believe myself. I actually messaged my boss at that time, and I said to her, like, why would you do that? The guy worked for you for 25, almost 30 years, and for you to ask him, how dare he take a candy which is less than 50p? Could you not replace it? Could you not just tell him on the side? You don't need to have me involved. You don't have to have all these counselors involved for a guy who worked for you. But what I realized, they try to do this to people because they try to show, show off their power. They can show authority. And I didn't like that, to be honest.
I just introduced somebody else here, and I'm a bit disappointed with the first 2 guests that have came on because the rule is dead simple. You come onto the show, and the first thing you've got to say is, Houston, I have a problem. And then tell me your problems, right? So we're going to go for third time lucky here. All right. Ian Lewis Sharp, how are you?
Houston, I have a problem. Right. The problem I have is as someone that's worked with children, I've got a lot of sympathy for Shona. Now, I don't know what Shona's view is on this. It's up to her. It's her child. But I just thought I'd let her know. Kelvin Grove, there's a school opened. It's called Melville Knox. And there's one also in Parkhead. It's just down from the Parkhead Ford. It's a Christian school, but you will get your kid taught, Shona, what you pay for it to be taught, maths, English and such. You won't have to worry about men using women's toilets, and your kid will be safe. So if you don't have any objection to sending your kid to a Christian school, I reckon that might be a good option for you. Also, I wouldn't necessarily rule out a Roman Catholic school either.
I can explain that one for quite a good few reasons. One, I can keep these teachers on top because I've worked at that school. So I worked at that school for
Melville Knox?
No, the school that she's at. I worked at them for ages, so I could keep an eye on her. I've since moved, but I'm near enough to school that I can get in touch with the teachers as soon as I like. I don't have to do phone calls or anything like that. I can literally go up to it. Secondly,
I was just thinking for conscience sake, because if you put it in a Christian school, they're very, very strict. It's girls go to girls' toilets, they get taught stuff, they don't teach them any of this. A boy can become a woman or any of this nonsense. It's very good education.
Yeah, I'll get to that one later with a funny story for you. Really funny story for that one in a wee bit. But the other thing is that I can't drive. I'm not allowed to. I've got 10% peripheral vision in one eye and I'm epileptic.
Where do you live?
Stewarton in East Ayrshire.
Right, because there's a school
I'll
in
give you a funny
Stirling.
idea. To give you an idea of how bad the public transport is here. My local hospital is 9 minutes away by car. Depending on what time my appointment is, it can be anywhere from 45 to an hour and 15 minutes away via public transport.
Oof.
I kid you not. The transport here is awful. And I'm lucky enough that all of my jobs are in the town. Yes, it's a hell of a lot of walking, but I walk from every single one of them. Sometimes I use a trike that I've just recently got, which is brilliant. I'm still waiting for the local person to say you can't ride that on the pavement, but I checked the law. But if you want a really funny one on the whole Lavy thing, just it's kind of ditching away from the schools, but you'll find this funny. During the VE Day celebrations, my local charity shop changed its window. And around the town, we have these wee knitted things that go on top of the post boxes, and they were all veteran tributes, all the rest of it. All the other shop windows were putting in poppies. But the local charity shop decided to set their window up rainbow and didn't realise that they'd put in a gay rights flag. And I was rather livid about it because I want to know what my money's going to. So I took it up with the lady in the shop, and her reaction was, well, we won't get to show our support for gay rights during June because that's the local Gala Week month. And I'm thinking, right, but you wouldn't have your gay rights if it hadn't been for your VE veterans in the first place. I was livid at them. And it was that just sheer disregard. I want to know, see if they bring up a heterosexual flag or something like that. We design something like that to go with it. But it then brings me back to, I don't like the way that's being brainwashed into my kid's head. But I'm lucky enough that my other job is at a church, so she gets to see a lot of that anyway.
Right.
I'm not a church goer personally, but I'm very much into the principles of it. Because
East Coast Bride, I mean, you can get the train for East Coast Bride to Glasgow, and Melville Knox is next to Duke Street train station. I live in Denniston. You know, there's one in Stirling, there's one in Kelvin Grove and the Tron as well. I don't know if there's a Christian school in East Coast Bride, I'm not sure. I don't know. I just know that a lot of people, Muslim children, and I mean, one of my friends, Eric, he actually moved his child because his child was being taught about transgender stuff in the schools, and he thought, I'm not having that. That's an absolute abomination. So he moved his kid and put him in a Christian school, and they get a good education.
Believe me, if it was an option, I would. But my work times, because I'm cleaning schools, are before the school starts and after the school finishes. So it's just because of situation, it's not an option. What I can do though is I can send her to Sunday school.
Shona, did you say that you used to be a school teacher?
No. So I've done voluntary classroom assistance. I went to be a school teacher. I was intending to be an art teacher. And I changed my mind.
Question for you: what would you do if the school, like say the Christian school, said it would give you a job doing cleaning in Glasgow, and then you could go to the? Do you know? Because I know some children in the Christian school are okay with this. I don't know if mainstream schools would be, but I know some children. Obviously, you'll know this better than me because you're a mother. I've not got any children. I've worked with children in the school. I've got experience of working with kids, but I've not got any children myself. But I know in the Christian school they've got no problem with their parents staying with the kids. Some of the parents stayed with the kids during the school, and if they could give you a job in the school,
I would be fine with that. But I currently spread. I'm spread now. Let me get this right. I'm down to 3 jobs this week, actually, now that they're taking the crossing patrol off of us. So, yeah, I've finished filling in my crossing patrol, so I'm down to 3 jobs now.
I'm hoping that Superman here can help us. I'm hoping that Superman can come up with an idea.
Yeah, get that flying thing so you can take my way into school.
Well, you know what? I would love to do that, and I'd love to help as many people as I could. But I just literally, I came in briefly. I just wanted to say thank you to Craig. Obviously, doing that interview, Craig, with you, I think my story has gone really wide. A lot of people have heard it, and actually, I have had, and this is why I came on. Just like I said, I just wanted to say thank you. And another thing was that there was somebody that I went to, that Islamic school where I was sexually harassed for 4 years. I went, and that guy's sister actually messaged me yesterday on Facebook. Oh. After watching your interview, and she was like, I couldn't believe it that I've seen you there. And we spoke for a bit. Then I gave her a call, but unfortunately, there was one thing that I think I didn't mention it, but I will mention it now. That in that religious school, the Islamic school that I went to, there were a lot of people there that suffered worse thing that I suffered. And one of that guy, he wasn't a friend of mine, but he was somebody who was in my class, was younger than me, and he actually passed away a couple of days ago. And I've only found out last night when she told me, and the reason why he have passed away, because of after everything that he went through, like I said, he probably went through far worse than I went through, because he was there before me and he was there after when I was leaving. So he passed away because of a lot of very, very bad mental health. And I think a lot of people don't understand. There are sometimes you see these people who get sexually harassed, the kids. Like I said, I was only 11-year-old, and it happened to me for 4 years up until the age of 16. And I did not know this has happened to me up until the age of 22, because we were not given a sex education. We didn't have sex education. So we didn't know this. And then when I did realize, I thank God to having the parents that I've got. They were very strong parents. They are very strong parents, my dad and my mom. And because of that, I came out strong. But a lot of kids didn't have that. And like I said, yesterday was the day I found out about that. That, for me, he was a child. I seen him as a child, and I always think he's a child. And he's passed away a couple of days ago, and it was, I think, the most heartbreaking thing. And that's the reason why I do what I do, and that's the reason why I said, to the counterterrorism police that I don't want any Islamic schools in the UK, because UK is a Christian country. You don't need an Islamic religious school. If you need anything, you need more Christianity. You need more churches, and you need more people preaching and practicing. That's what you need in the UK. And if I want to learn about Islam,
Shona, a question, if I can. Shona, I'm wondering if you can help me with this. See in the school, right, that you go to the mainstream school, do they have to get permission from the parents for some of the stuff? Because I know there was a thing that came out, there was a protest that came out about what they were teaching children in the sex education and stuff. Do they have to get permission from you, and do you have to see the stuff that your kid has been taught, or can they just teach it without you even seeing it?
It depends what the level is. So, for example, in nursery, so you're talking anything from 2 to 5. It's always been, even before this gender thing, it's always been one set of toilets. And that's partially because they need changing facilities. It's partially because the children aren't supposed to go in it on their own in the first place. From there up to primary 4, they will get taught that a man's a man and a woman's a woman, or at least, yeah. Biologically anyway, for now. But they'll get taught, they won't get shown bits, but they'll be taught that, boys pee differently from girls, things like that.
Because I knew that in the Western Isles they rejected it, Shona. The schools up in the Western Isles rejected the reformed curriculum, but I thought in Glasgow it was being taught.
In terms of sex education, this is where it gets complicated. Girls can start having their periods anywhere from 8 up.
Right.
And they do have tampons and things like that available in primary school toilets. But I started mine at 9. And it will show you a way of how things were different. I was wearing a grey skirt. And I stayed literally round the corner. And instead of being sent home to change out of my blood-stained skirt, I was told to simply turn it round so that the blood stain would be on the side and it looked like a turtleneck. So,
see, just before we move on, I've got lots of people commenting about the men that are in jail who are in a fair trial, and there's names there like Lynn and Marsha I recognise. If anybody for your group wants to come in and discuss it, just get them into if you go into YouTube, go into the description and there's a link and get in the studio. We've got 20 minutes left, so we've got a couple of topics we could add on if you want to bring that up. Just get yourself involved, folks.
Sorry, I'm keen to know for Shona, because Shona seems to be able to answer some of my questions. See, in the school, Shona, are people that would identify as transgender allowed to teach in the schools, and are they allowed to go into the toilet that they identify in, or has it got to be biological toilets?
So now that's got to be biological. Now it does. There was a while where it was a bit of an iffy, slippy subject. I personally haven't actually seen a school yet with a transgender toilet. They've been keeping them separate where I stay. There is a lot more disabled toilets being installed than there were before, and I do have a sneaky feeling that in some of the schools that's more as a way of getting around this. But certainly in primary schools and secondaries, yes, it's all good where I stay. Your problem you have in high school toilets is intoxication, vaping, and sometimes even alcohol being smuggled into the schools.
What about teachers? Can you get transgender teachers?
Sorry?
Can you get transgender teachers in the schools?
Oh yeah, but you've been able to have that since I was a kid. It's just that they're not to rub it in your face.
Sheesh.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid, there was a transgender librarian.
You wouldn't get that in a Christian school. You probably wouldn't get that in a moderate Catholic school either.
Well, I'm going back to, I left school in 2002. She'd been there.
You wouldn't get that when I was growing up. I'm 40. You wouldn't have got that in the 80s or the 90s.
But what I would say is she didn't shove it in your face. She didn't go on about rights. She knew to just kind of get on with her job, leave it be. As I say, she was a librarian. she got an awful lot of crap from the kids, and she never made a thing about it. The kids were absolutely awful to her, and I did feel for her. But you weren't being told, oh, you have to go and change your sets, you have to be this or you have to be that. Funnily enough, back to what Superman was saying, the only time I got exposed to by a lad in school, years later, he turned out to be gay and exposed himself to me in school.
Sorry to butt in, guys. I've got Alan and Kevin trying to get in, but it's saying that they're not connected their mics. So if you can do that, guys, then we'll try again, okay?
Yeah,
Right.
Craig, I just have to say, I'm just going to go. Is that okay, guys? I just came here to say thank you very much. And then I was in the middle of doing something else. So I'll see you guys.
See, before you go, mate, did you and Sean connect?
No, we didn't. He haven't messaged me. I have followed him, but he haven't got in touch with me. So if you can give him my number.
I gave him your phone number late on last night. So maybe he does up loads of lives all day during the day. So he will contact you, mate. He's got 1 million subscribers, so you'll get a big platform with him.
All right, no worries. If he get in touch with me, I'll get back to him then. That's
all right,
fine.
pal.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you later, buddy.
Craig, what was the situation up in Royston? Are they going to open that as a migrant place now, or what's happening?
They don't know, is the honest answer. The diocese owned it, the Roman Catholic Church owned that building. It was a youth centre for a long time, and the local community tried to buy it off them, and they didn't sell it to them. They sold it to a foreign man.
Apparently, it was very successful as well, Craig.
Yeah, I spoke to a few people, and there was a lot of award winners came out of the place. So this foreign guy's got it. The community have asked him, some people, what he's going to use for it, and he's come up with a couple of different notions, but he's not really been very straight with them. So they're concerned what will happen, nobody knows. But I hope that the community standing up against it, that might be enough for them to decide, you know what, we'll just make it something.
I noticed when I lived in Royston, Craig, I don't know if you know Tarsus Street in Royston, the Garngad Church, the Foundry Boys. You might know Bill McMurdo. He used to be an agent for Rangers. Bill McMurdo. So he's a pastor up there, Craig, and the Muslims were going to try and buy over the church up there, but they said no, we're not having it. So Bill McMurdo went in, and he sells Christian books and that in there, and he's got a church in there, an evangelical church.
Hold on a wee minute, mate. That's 3 guests I've had come in, and none of them's been able to talk. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but just chat amongst yourselves for a minute, and I'll have a wee look about the tech stuff, because it's a bit annoying. That's 3 people.
I can gather that you're quite a Christian yourself, then.
I am a Christian. I'm a Christian.
Well, I would describe myself as I wouldn't know how to put it, because I literally made a prayer years ago, swearing not to choose one over another, but rather follow the morals. But so I do like a prayer, but don't really go to service, if that makes sense. But I believe entirely in the principles of it.
Call themselves culture Christians.
Well, what I would suggest you do, if you've ever got the time, is to pop into John Knox Church where I stay, because they are literally keeping this community alive. Their incredible services are what stopped this town from having an uprising and half.
Well, you mentioned John Knox. John Knox was a man of the Reformation in Scotland. He set up schools, and the church, Shona, used to run the schools.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Then the schools were a lot better then. Even people that weren't Christians respected it then. But what happened was the church felt that their main issue was taking up with the preaching of the gospel and doing like house visits and helping the sick and elderly, which is good and so they should. So they ended up giving it to the government, which at that time, the government was Christian, because Scotland was staunch Christian. And there's still a heavy remnant of that today. But then it got perverted, and it got more perverted, and it got more perverted. And then, because the church gave them over, the government took over, and this is where all the corruption came in, because we get far lefties.
Well, if you're going to talk about John Knox, you not see history kind of repeating itself in that back in your 1500s, instead of the government, you had the Catholic Church claiming to look after everybody, taking money off people, abusing it. Not all of them. Before I go in upsetting anyone Catholic, nothing against. I know that there were the ones that did the good stuff as well, but systematically speaking, people weren't happy with it. They didn't get listened to. They get kicked in the butt, chucked out, and they had a reformation. I think Scotland's needing a reformation because the SNP don't have a bloody clue.
The political one.
Labour's nightmare. The Conservatives, they'll cause an argument because it's in their interest, but I wouldn't vote for them in an instant. And don't even get me started on the Green Party because they've not got a bloody clue about real life.
Shona, for me, there's only two parties that really hold morals in this country. One, you can speak to Craig, he's the man. SDP. SDP in Scotland. I've looked at their policies, they're reasonably decent. I wouldn't have an issue with voting for Craig. And the other one, I'm a member of, it's UKIP. Now, the reason I don't think UKIP will get into power is I'm a unionist with a small u, but I'm Republican as well. I'm not a monarchist. I would disagree with Craig in that. I think we should have an elected head of state, but I do respect the monarchy. I think that UKIP don't want the Scottish Parliament here. They want to do away with it, and I think a lot of unionists, even probably Craig, if I'm not misrepresenting them, would support devolution to some degree. So I think that the SDP have got a real opportunity. Do you know what I mean? And if you know somebody like Craig and you know that he would stand for your morals, then maybe voting for somebody like that would be an option.
Can you hear me, mate?
Can I put an idea to you?
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Kevin is saying here you need to connect your mic and cam before I can add you to the stream, mate. Spoke trying to join us and they can't get in. Sorry, guys.
Sorry, are you needing me to do something here?
No, you go. You will have the conversation. I was just playing about with the room and managing the room, and Kevin's trying to get in, but it's saying I'll need to connect. They will need to connect their mic stroke cam before you can add them. So
right. So I want to put an interlinked idea here to you, right? You've got the immigrants that are already across the channel, right? They're sitting in the hotel, playing hee-haw. You've got, and I'm not going to call it global warming, I'm going to call it pollution on the other side, right? Where, let's face it, Scotland's got an absolute abundance of litter. You have these furnaces that if we burn the litter, we can make energy. So why not get the immigrants, and if you even want the people that are claiming benefit that don't necessarily have to be, to do a couple hours a week of litter picking, they put it into a system that goes to the incinerators, you get energy, and let's face it, Scotland, if it was to produce its own energy properly, could actually probably charge it the way we do the water bill.
Do you know what I think Scotland would do a lot better doing? Right, and I want to clarify something here because I just said something there and people in Scotland take that the wrong way. When I say I'm Republican and Conservative, I mean in the American sense. I think Scotland get taken up a role like Donald Trump has done in the United States of America, whatever you think of Trump. Right, I think that would do well for Scotland. I mean, I'm not against the monarchy per se. I really like the Queen. I would have been a monarchist with a small m at that point. I just don't like Charles. I respect him because the Bible tells me to, and I'm a Christian. And I'll stand up for the national anthem, and I would pay him respect. But I don't agree with the monarchy. I think Charles is a globalist. But I do believe in the union.
I don't think you can compare Charlie and Elizabeth.
You call it, maybe back your time. We've only got 10 minutes left, so I'm keen to get as many folk in as possible. Kev, how are you?
What a nightmare that was trying to get in here.
Right, see, before you start, we're going to give you an opportunity to get the score to 2 each because it's 2-1 against the new tradition we're trying to start. So how is everybody say their first line when they come onto the show?
Houston, we have a problem. I only come up here because I thought I could order 2 fish suppers and a black pudding supper.
Why would you want to do that?
Well, I thought it was a phone-in, so I thought it was a delivery service tonight, man, know what I mean? And then I came in
you
here.
look like Uber drivers to you?
Uber drivers deliver who? It's no deliver who, it's
Jenny,
deliver
yes, Kev's in. Oh, God. He's getting a wee fan club showing in this Kevin character.
No.
Oh, there's a Vaughan, another one of your Twitter faithful. Go, Kev. Oh, they're all coming out the woodwork now.
Oh, we're not starting this tonight again, man. I only, do you know, I'm hearing your voice 24/7 now, sir. I see you in spaces, I see you on live, I see you on the telly, and I'm even sleeping now. I'm dreaming about your voice day now, man. Honestly, unbelievable.
You're having
We
dreams
blew.
about their nightmares.
Well, I'd go with the second option in that one, Chief. Know what I mean?
Right, that's twice we Alan's tried to come in. Alan's a guy from Ballymena that I interviewed when I went out there, and he's come in twice to try and get in, and I brought him up and he's just disappeared. I'm really wanting to speak to him.
There was
Just
a
get
wee
an
guy
update.
that just came in there. He was called Wee Blue.
That's Alan. That's Alan for Ballymena. I don't know what's that. He's come in twice, and twice I brought him up to speak, and then it's just disappeared. So there's some people with some adult humour that I don't think's fitting. It's before 8 o'clock at night, folks. Like to just remind you.
Aye, my Wayne's next door, okay? She'll hear you.
She was nearly on the show, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Poor Kev. Love struck. Oh, right, he's in now. If he doesn't talk, I'm never going to speak to him again. Is that you, Al? Hello? Oh, mate. Just whistle or something, mate, so I know you're there. Alan.
He's in the room, but maybe he's got problems with his mic. You might need to put his mic on mute.
No, he's not muted. The mic's open.
But see, when I came in at first without my picture on, and then I adjusted the size of my phone so I could see clearer, and then I put my picture on. And there's a button as well for the mic, so he's got to switch his own mic on.
I know it's on, or I wouldn't have been able to bring him up. That's the problem with having with Kev. It wouldn't let me bring him into the studio. Right, I don't know what problem you're having, Alan, but Kev, do me a favour. Just speak in an Irish accent and tell us what's going on at Ballymena, and we'll kid on it's Alan.
I'm struggling to speak Scottish, never mind blooming Northern Irish here, man. Not, I mean, come on. I can't do accents. I'm terrible at them, man.
You struggle with a Lothian accent, don't you?
I do, aye. You're absolutely right, mate. 100% on that one, Chief.
Here in Paisley country, Ballymena.
Oh, it's in. How you doing, Alan? I got excited. Alan, I've been in your house, right? You've got some of the strongest Wi-Fi known to man, right? You uploaded a video from your house when I was in Ballymena, and I uploaded in about 10 minutes, which normally would take me about 35 minutes. So, I take it you're not in the house. Don't know what's going on. Alan, come on, Giggles is desperate to hear you. No, it's not happening. It's not happening. Right, Kev, to you. We've got 7 minutes left. That's 5 minutes left. Let's end in some cheeriness. How are we going to solve our problems, mate?
I think the SNP for a kick-off. That'd be a right starting point there. Get ready Labour. Get ready Patrick Harvey, Lorna Slater, Ross Greer. I mean, where do you want me to stop? I just think just get ready. Well, saying that, I mean, we were talking about that abolish Hollywood not that long ago. And you said,
Alan, it's saying that you need to connect your mic. There's something going on wrong with your end. When your mic's not connected, it's kicking you back down. I can bring you back up, but it'll not let me because it says they will need to connect their mic / cam before you can add it to the stream. Stick your camera up. Don't be shy. That might sort the job out.
Kev, who should we vote for?
Well, I'm going to obviously vote for Craig. Well, I know Craig will pick somebody in my constituency. But see, you're saying, we've got 1 and 2 votes. Do you know what I mean? Realistically, I can't vote for Reform. Reform are frauds.
I agree.
I mean, you've got that David Kirkwood at the top of the tree. It's still promoting independence. You've got Alba Party, independence. SNP, independence. And I mean, look, I know I've not met you before, my man, but I was an SNP supporter all my days. And I did actually vote for independence back in 2014. And then I would do it now. Absolutely no chance. Absolute no chance. The state that this country's been taken into through this SNP. So, I mean, I know you were talking about UKIP there. I would much rather UKIP just stayed out of Scotland for 2026 because it's just going to dilute mere votes. and they could concentrate and maybe trying to get themselves a bit more of a party for 20.
See, I think I'm going to be forced to vote reform if the SDP or UKIP aren't standing in my area, because I don't want to split the right vote, and the reform are probably the best of a bad bunch.
Unfortunately,
See who's standing where and who's standing constituencies. Right, guys, we've only got another couple of minutes to go, and Alan's finally in the studio. Alan, live correspondent from the beautiful Northern Ireland. How are you, my friend, and what's the latest over by?
Oh, turn your mic on, Alan.
Well, Craig, the problem I'm getting at the minute is I've got.
You're sitting too far away from your mic, Al.
I'm not. I'm sitting up close. I'm sitting up
You need
close.
to shout then. What are you saying, buddy?
But I'm getting double audio from you.
Oh, are you?
I'm getting the same conversation twice with a 2 or 3 second gap in it, and it's all jumbled up.
Okay, then I'll try and turn your mic up. Try it now, mate. Talk, just say in now. Test.
Can you hear me?
That's
There we
far
go.
better. So what's new over by, mate? How's the protest developed? Have you any news that you can share with us?
Well, I didn't go down the night, Craig, because you see, that's your conversation coming through. That question came through again there now. So I'm talking over the top of you.
Everybody else can hear it fine, mate. Have you got 2 devices on, maybe?
No.
Just keep speaking, Alan, your sound.
Alan, we've been hearing your protest. You need to keep them going because I'm all for it. So
Thank
just
you
tell
very
us what you
much,
think.
Shona. Can you hear that again?
Can hear
It's as
that,
if you've
yeah.
got 2 devices, mate. Just try and ignore it and just tell us something, because we're going to be going off in about 45 seconds.
Right. The protests will be going ahead, yes. They decided now to have them Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Sunday night. And I got the wrong end of the stick. I thought Tuesday and Thursday were men night, and Sunday was women only, but it's the other way around. Tuesday and Thursday are women only, and Sunday nights men allowed. But these protests won't stop. They won't stop. There's meetings going on behind closed doors. We're not being told who's at these meetings, who's representing the people, what the results of these meetings are. So, as far as the ordinary people on the plane are concerned, these meetings are meaningless, because until somebody comes out and tells us these guys are going and they're going for good, no good.
So, how long will these go on, mate?
These will keep going. These will keep going until we get answers. We've had too many empty promises, too many people willing to fire their own nest at the expense of the good people of Ballymena. So I ain't going to stop anytime soon. In fact, it's even getting more and more complicated as we find out that the Filipino community were involved in rapes and sexual assaults.
Is Jim Allister speaking out, Alan?
Yes, Jim's talking about it. The most vocal man that we have at the minute is Timothy Gaston. He's Tim's MLA. He's our MLA.
Right.
In the local parliament, in the local talking shop, or whatever you want to call it. But Jim's well aware of what's happening here. Timothy's giving it his best shot, but Jim Fiona especially are sitting them down left, right, and centre. It's racist. It's
That's weird.
racist thumbs and rioting and putting people out of their houses and all. And Timothy says, "What do you do with this? but you won't even listen to me. So Sinn Féin Alliance Party, the SDLP are dead lost.
What about the DUP? What are they doing? What's the crack with the DUP?
Some DUP reps, MPs, MLAs will speak about it, but the majority won't. The majority won't. The people don't trust the DUP anymore. Like Ian Paisley got thrown out of his very safe seat the last election. He thought he was there for life.
So the
I have to
process.
say that, see, if I was a woman in that community, I'd be singing your absolute praises, because I think more communities in Britain need to be like yours, standing up for the people that need stood up for. So well done to you, and good luck to you.
I don't know what you're thinking, guys. Lynn, I don't know what problems you're having, but if you can let me know, just try again. We've got space in to get you in. I would be keen to let you in.
We appreciate that. We appreciate all the help we can get. And Craig's been doing a fantastic job.
If anybody from Lynn's group want to come in, I'll hang the space out, the live out for a wee extra 5-10 minutes if you want to try and get in, guys.
My audio's all over the place. I haven't a clue who's saying what.
Don't worry about it, mate. You were absolutely perfect the last time you were on. Everything seemed to go all right. So I don't know. Maybe
what's wrong this time, Craig?
Aye.
It's easy to work us out, Alan. You've got a guy that's got a blank one. You've got me with a baldy head, Ian with a Rangers t-shirt on.
I know that's you, Ian. Here.
You've got Craig, he's bald as well. And then you've got the good-looking Shona.
I want a good skill.
No, I like the t-shirt, I have to say.
Kev, have you fell?
About that?
Have you fell? Are you all right? You've not spoke for about 32 minutes. I was concerned for your sanity or your safety there.
Hold the bus. You were shouting for Alan to come up, right? So the young gentleman's come up to talk about Ballymena. I think it's only respect to sit in the background and listen. The only reason I've not got my camera on here is I'm not wanting to show you and Craig up, man. I've no eye candy.
Right. Well, Lady Kay's asking, Kev, why do you not have the camera on? Are you having a bad hairdo?
I'm having a bad hairdo. Do you know what I mean?
I've on M off Twitter, one of your Twitter cabal, asking, we still don't know what Kev looks like. But there's a lot of ladies here, Kev.
I hope you've not got a Celtic top on, Kev.
I'm trying to get that Hail Hail that was on my tattooed on my forehead, you know what I mean?
Oh, dear.
Do you know what his mates done to him the other day? They sent him an invite. Was it this morning, Kev? They texted him and went like, Kev, we're going to a pro-UK celebration in Glasgow on Saturday if you're up for it. And he's phoned me and he's like, what have we missed? There's something going on Saturday. I says, actually, I'll walk you halfway. So he ended up at the wall with his pals.
He sent me a flyer. I said, send me a flyer. And at that point, I was talking to Craig, and then he sent me a photo of an orange walk, and I thought, what a bell end. And then he was saying to Craig, tell Craig to check his Facebook. And then he sent me a photo. It's so important. He sent me the photo, and it was I had lost a bet. So when I was up at a poker night, I had to wear a Rangers top. So I had a Rangers top on for the entire game, and he took a photo of it, man. He's been plastering it everywhere. So that's the only reason he's wanting to get in touch with Craig, so Craig can use that.
Kevin, you're a bigger blue nose than some blue noses, I know. Just to let you know, Alan, his grandfather played for Celtic. He used to be a Celtic season ticket holder. He used to be an SNP member. He used to vote and want independent Scotland, and we've managed to turn him on every single thing apart from his Celtic. But I'll get there one day.
Right, firstly, let's just.
The only thing I made out of his conversation there was the word bell end.
Right, let's get this straight, right? I didn't need anybody. I didn't need anybody to turn me. I know exactly what's going on in this country, so I didn't need any help to get to where I am. Do you know what I mean? I just want Scotland to go back to being the good country that once was. Do you know what I mean? We don't need this nonsense.
I'm the same as you, Kevin. I voted independence the first time round as well, right? And the reason I done so is because Alex Salmond was a centrist,
Aye.
and he was supported free speech. I'm a unionist with a small U. See, if Scotland had a move to the right, and England became really left wing, I'd be a nationalist. But right now, I'm a unionist, and I can't see me forsaking being a unionist, because as bad as a union is, an independent Scotland would be a country mile worse under the SNP.
By the way,
Kev, quick question for you. What's your favourite colour?
Either black or blue. I don't, right? No, didn't be pumping the fist here, right? What? Is that lady Kate, by the way?
Purple and orange, get a shout there as well.
I'm telling you, see her? I'm going to fall out with her.
Darling, my chair's get all the way. Sorry. I'm just glad I've not got your obscene Celtic top on the screen.
She's cut.
Have you figured this out yet, Kev? You're only here so I can tick a box.
What box is that? Oh,
some DEI thing I need to tick as a broadcaster. Aye.
I think Kev's a double agent.
No,
Alan's not coming back on.
See, maybe Craig can help me.
I think Kev's a double agent.
Maybe, Craig, you can help me. I've got a wee girl who's just starting to get the idea of football, and I'm just trying to make sure I convince her to go for Broxley Bear.
It's just far like something like that. What's that? Who paid the hound or something you've got, Kev?
Aye.
It's not got the same class as Broxley Bear.
No, it's not.
Right,
no.
I was hanging off a wee bit. I was trying to get some of the people from Marsha's group, Marsha and Lynn. I've seen them and a few others talking about the same thing, and I was keen to get one of them up to give them a wee bit of airtime. But
so take your kid up to Edmondson House and show them the Rangers Museum.
I thoroughly intend to, but I want to get my hands on some tickets too, because I remember my first football match, it was actually at Kelly Park. I went to see Rangers absolutely thrash the living daylights out of them. And it was in the days when you could afford a football ticket. And my dad was taking my sister, who at the time would have been 12. And it was, I want to go. And my dad says, right, when you choose your team, you choose them for life. And my sister hated it. And I loved it.
Have you ever been to an Old Firm match? Have you ever been to an Old Firm match?
That's the one thing I've not managed to do, and it's literally a life's ambition. First of all, I couldn't afford to do it because I couldn't get the work. I got past the disabilities, I got the work. Now I can't get the ticket.
Well, I tell you something, Shona. At my first one at Ibrox, Celtic won 3-2 with 10 men, and it was before the allocation get cut, and I was sitting in the club deck. And the Povers let me walk through the Brimlin Road to get to my seat, and there was 150 Celtic fans staring at me. We were all having a flag, and if I was 5 minutes later, I would have got chipped because the Green Brigade were coming in.
Well, I think the reason my dad didn't let me go to a football game was because he was at the 1980, where they stormed the pitch, and I think that was Dad that, I wasn't allowed to go to an Old Firm game after that, which I kind of get. But there's nothing I love more than the football. Oh, sorry, there is. I'll wait in my husband's story. But other than that. But this is the thing, speaking of balls, and I'm going to be a wee bit here, but I think Scotland just needs to get them again. We need to get some balls. And if we're not going to have them, then we need to give the politicians a wee bit of kick, like they're a football, because they're not getting it.
Well, I don't know if you know, Shona, 9th of August, Peterhead's holding a protest.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's against everything that we're all sitting talking about, anti-illegal migration, indoctrination of kids. There's a number of topics. So, if they can do it, then I don't see why we shouldn't all be trying to do it. Do you know what I mean? There's more and more of these. Because I think that's what the problem is. We're staying too silent. Meanwhile, we're getting these hate marches in the streets every week.
Far left turn out in force, Kevin, every time you have a protest.
So, the other night, I was at a rap concert, and we left early because it was an American rapper. It started off about how everyone would be all together and all peaceful. And the next minute, someone in the crowd shouted "Free Palestine," and 2 seconds later, you thought there was going to be a riot, and felt downright unsafe to be left.
Was the kneecap you were away saying?
Fighting room in the town.
Was away a kneecap concert, Kev?
Is that where she was? She just didn't know it?
Didn't know it. So you know it was Knapp.
That Knapp.
It turned out it was all that Palestinian mob.
Oh no, it was an absolute mob. It's an absolute mob, and they're just so blind.
I mean, what kind of country are we living in reality, where a 76-year-old woman can't stand and protest against abortion, whatever your views are on that, she gets arrested, but people that support paedophile terrorists who are Islamists can march up and down the street shouting genocide?
Well, here's a good example. Back to that church I was telling you that I work at. So they're anti-abortion, but they were raising money when the abortion get banned in America to go and help ladies that needed it.
I mean, look, look, we know what we're facing. These people on the left, right, will turn up at anything, right? They just want to say, I want to feel a part of something, brigade, right?
Aye.
They'll protest. I mean, Craig and I went down to Manchester for a campaign of survivors of child abuse, and they were there. Now, any person that can turn up to protest against a rally for survivors of child abuse, where's your head at?
Yeah.
Where's your on? And the terms right wing, fascist, racist, etc., we need to stop being scared to be getting called them, because that's the problem. We're too frightened to be called these words, and we're not.
You need to get one of Craig Houston's t-shirts then. I bought one. It says, if I'm a racist, you're a crackpot.
That's a brilliant one.
Yeah, I think I might get in trouble if I wore that to my work.
There's the thing, right? There's one line that you've just said right there.
But if I walk into a nursery with a t-shirt saying crackpot, I'm going to get into trouble.
No, but that's the problem, though. They've got everybody scared to say.
Yeah.
They can go about saying whatever they want, right? That mob, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every weekend, they're out there celebrating terrorism. They're flying these flags every single week, right? But the minute we criticise them, we get hauled in. That this hate crime bill that Scums are brought in, right, it was to benefit him and his demographic and anybody that supports that demographic.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to stop being scared to stand up for ourselves, because at the end of the day, this is Scotland, and we belong here, and we've got the right to criticise them as much as they want to criticise us.
Yeah, no, I get entirely what you're saying. I'll be honest with you. I think there's a lot more that I'd have said and done if I didn't have the wee one next door, and I'm worried about keeping jobs and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But that would then bring me to a question I've actually got for Craig. You were saying recently about how you joined the party and how you would be running for your place, and I says to myself, you know what? I'd love to do that too. How do you do that? Manage to find time to do it and still manage to do your, depending on what day of the week it is, between 8 and 11 hours of work. If you can find a way to do that, I'm just
nuts. I'm absolutely bonkers. I've got a proper job myself, which I run a wee business with a pal of mine, but that's really taken a back seat over the last 6 months since the channel went mental. I run a kids football club. I've got family life. I've got normal commitments. I'm a member of a party. I run this thing, and it's just there. Do you know what I mean? See, if you have one kid and you have a second one, you don't go, I need to create more hours. You just find hours, and it's kind of like me. I just take more stuff on. I don't like doing nothing. And if I'm bored, I get mischievous. And it's just...
Can I just say something, Craig? I mean, but Shona, I talked to Craig a lot about this. see at the end of the day, see if you've not got the capabilities to be a councillor or the time to be an MSP, then do you know what? I'm sure everybody that wants to get a better country can spend a couple of hours a night doing some leaflet dropping in your area for like the party you want to try and promote or the candidate you want to promote, because that's what's age. You know what I mean? We start getting a bit more active.
If Craig's got a representative in my constituency, I'm all ears, man.
That'll be down to the members.
Stewart's get 8,000 people in it and 4 representatives.
I thought you stayed in Glasgow, Craig.
I do.
I'm in Denniston. Where are you?
I don't really say that out loud in public, to be honest with you, mate.
I
But I'm in Glasgow.
Why don't we just say north, east, west, south, something like that? We'll keep it at that. Keep them safe.
He's moved to Royston.
That'll be down to the members. You know, I'll be talking to them all very soon. I would have been doing it pretty a lot quicker if it wasn't for what happened to me 2 or 3 Fridays ago, coming out of the house when the police decided to arrest me.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
I'm going to need to get a meeting with all the members and just say, right, who wants to look after a particular region, who wants to consider candidates, and then hopefully we'll have candidates in at least every region. And that way anybody in any place in Scotland can vote SDP if they want. So that's kind of
SDP, okay. Would they accept somebody that was outspokenly pro-life?
I don't know.
So, because I know that
advocates killing people, so kind of guess we're all pro-life then, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, because I was looking at the SDP and I was reading, like, totally agree with them in nearly everything, that I think, if I'm not wrong, that left-leaning when it comes to economy, but right-leaning when it comes to morals. Which, I
wouldn't even say no, because there's an open market economy, but the only policies that are sort of left-leaning could be privatised our water and our NHS, which kind of makes sense. Most people in Scotland, the water is not nationalised, so there's not really anything. Most of the other policies, but I hate left and right. I was invited down to London School of Economics in April to do a talk, and there was 3 lords in close vicinity of me talking as well at this event. It's a bit mental, and I'm like, how did I end up here? And my whole talk was about this nonsense left and right, and I'm new to politics, so I kind of don't get it. And I don't use the language that people do in politics.
See, if somebody like me was to join your party, right, I would come under your authority. I would do it, and I would conduct myself in a professional manner, like I've done when I work with the children in the church and anything else. I would conduct myself in a professional manner. The only thing that I've got a problem with is, would they allow me to, say, stand before 40 Days for Life in the buffer zones and hold up a sign supporting women that are getting abortions? Would they kick me out for that? A bit like Reform UK makes leeway for Anne Widdecombe. I'm kind of like the male Anne Widdecombe. I would do that.
Well, seen a grid of 1 to 10. Is that one of the most important things to you because of your religious beliefs?
Well, I'm pro-life. When I say I'm pro-life, I still recommend the death penalty for people like that guy in Southport.
Right, but yeah, pro-life. Question is that, if you listed your top 3-4 political points, is that one of them?
So I would be pro-life, pro-Israel, pro-marriage.
Right. I'm not being funny. Have you looked at Scottish Family Party?
Yes, but they're weak on immigration.
Right, so what's more important to you?
Well, pro-life and immigration come together, because if you're pro-life, you want to protect your borders for terrorists coming in, and you also want to protect the unborn. So I think the two of them go together.
Right. Just stand as an independent if you can't find a party that suits.
Well, I kind of like the SDP. I'm just wondering what their policy would be on somebody that was standing outside, like protesting.
As long as you're not being disrespectful, the problem you've got is you can't be breaking the law and representing a party. Right? I mean, that's good coming for somebody that's been arrested and charged, but the party have seen the evidence that and There's wee Alan coming in again. I hope you're all right this time, Al. So, you know, they'll stand by you when you don't do things wrong, but if you were to go into an inclusion zone and you were desperate to break the law, then I would say you want to find another party, because you can't go out your way to break the law, regardless of how much we want to be upset with stuff, right?
What if like somebody like Rose Doherty, who I would agree with, says that it shouldn't be law and she doesn't accept that it is the law?
No, I know that. Listen, that's great, but we either accept law, even the ones we don't like, or have anarchy. So it's just about your priorities. But if you want to go and break the law,
would you accept a law? Would you accept a law that, say you had children, I don't know if you do have children, but say you had a daughter that was 16, would you accept a law, right, that says a man at my age, God forbid, could go into the toilet and get access to the same toilet as your daughter? Of course you wouldn't.
no,
I can step in on that one.
No, but can you just give me a wee minute, right?
Yeah.
What you're asking me is, Craig, could I possibly join your party and be a candidate and do all this stuff, but I want to deliberately break the law? There is only one answer I can give you to that. The answer is no. Regardless of whether you like the law or don't like the law, the point in getting involved in politics is to change the ones you don't like and create ones that you would like. That's kind of the whole reason behind it. But to ask somebody that's leading a party, could I join your party and break the law? There's only one answer to that. And the answer is, well, no. We couldn't allow that, because we can't knowingly have, say to our members, even folk that only want to stand for us, you go and break the law, that's a great thing to do. Regardless of whether you think the law is right or wrong, we need to kind of respect the law. And the
But
laws
you can still work around that by like speaking out against it in an appropriate way.
Can I just say something to you? It sounds as if it's the biggest, most important thing to you, right?
No, it's one of the biggest.
Right, and if it's right, so I kind of think that the Scottish Family Party would be a better vehicle for you, because you don't need to break the law to join them. Well, they're quite happy to do it. They're actually pushing this. So if that's really at the top of your list, I would consider joining them, because you're going to need to give a bit of leeway, because you've not got the perfect family that will let you break the law whenever you want, and the immigration stuff that you want. Just that party doesn't exist. So if you're going to join a party, then you kind of need to say, well, I'm going to accept the rest of the stuff that they do, because they give me more of the things that I really, really like. I'm just fortunate I didn't have that problem. I quite liked the policies and I was cool in the gang with it. I didn't need to go and say, would you be all right?
Most of them as well.
Yeah.
What I would say is that you seem to have this subject as if it's stemming from something. And I'm not fishing for what it is. But what I would say is that when it comes to the whole toilet thing and stuff, thankfully I can say I've never been raped, but I have had 6 sexual assault or inappropriate behaviour situations in my life. None of them have been in a toilet. The majority have actually been right in the middle of public, and people haven't known what to read, and women freeze in these situations. Usually you don't get the big fight that you see in the telly. That's not how it works. So what I would say is, while it's good to be saying about, yes, I do want just a women's toilet, what you really need to have if you want to fight against that is making women drop this whole OTT women's rights shit that we have right now, because I admit it's gone bonkers. It's gone totally the wrong way. Stop them, and I'm sorry all women, but we're moany little bisms and we don't need to be, and start looking out for each other instead. Start educating people into what the signs are, because it's not some dude coming down the street in a balaclava. On the abortion factor, I have to say that is really not a white flag subject. It's multiple colours, and every single case is different. So what I would say on that one is, I know someone who did have to have an abortion after being raped, and what they said they found difficult about it wasn't people arguing against it, it was how it was argued against. So, for example, if you have someone fanatically preaching against it on a loudspeaker in the middle of a street, you are going to find that condemning you and feeling worse about yourself. Whereas if you actually sat down with them and just had a nice, soft, one-to-one chat, they would maybe actually hear the point of view much better.
Well, somebody just commented in reference to that there. They said I should join Craig's party and draw in line. Somebody just put that comment up there. Because, I mean, I'd agree with the SDP on about 95% of their policies.
I must admit, I agree with the majority of the policies as well. I say the majority because I've not had the chance to read 100% every single policy, because there's a lot of things to have a policy on. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really a UKIP as yet. I've not been turned to any particular party as such.
Nick Tinconi does a lot of stuff. He's been doing stuff like Craig's been doing. Nick went to Cali. I don't know if you've seen that, Craig, and he went to the Cali camp. Yeah. Nick Tinconi, and he was. I think you're quite fond of Nick Tinconi yourself.
I've met him. I've spoke. He's a decent enough guy. I don't have anything bad to say about him.
He's a Roman Catholic. He's very, very. He's very. I mean, if you think I'm outspoken, you would think I was mild compared to Nick Tinconi.
Mm-hmm. See, at the end of the day, right? You're never going to find a manifesto or find a party that you're going to 100% agree on absolutely everything.
I must just be fortunate then.
Well, but you're the leader of the party, so you have to say that, right? But anyway.
No, it's all, mate. I didn't even need to join the party. Can I speak, guys? Can I speak? I don't need to say that, Kev. I'll tell you what happened. I got asked if I wanted to join this party with a view to buying into somebody else's plan for the party in Scotland. I went down and I met the leader of the party and the secretary of the party. And we had a very, very good chat. And I was going on holiday a few days later. And I said, right, let me have a look at the policies and stuff. In fact, that's not true. The meeting took place. I did a few phone calls first. I went on holiday and I was away just for a week. And about 3 or 4 days in, I thought, do you know what? If I was clever enough to write a manifesto, if I was clever enough to write a document like the homecoming document, then that's what I would write. Because there was nothing in it. The things that don't really bother me, like I'd load in my priority list, where I was like, yeah, that's fine. And the stuff that are high on my priority list were a really good match, like their ideas on immigration, how to deal with that, deportation, the things in place for our armed forces, which I've got the utmost respect for. And by the way, somebody put on, it was wee Shaza earlier on about respecting the armed forces week. Certainly will. Shaza will get involved in that. I've got a mate, Alan, that does the poppy sales, and probably 2 of the last 4 years I've gained a bit of time into him, getting down when he's been struggling for volunteers and stuff, and really important to me. And the policies I have for them are absolutely solid in terms of me. So there isn't any. I don't bullshit, Kevin. I thought there was one or two. The other great thing about the Social Democratic Party is dead simple. And I've seen it from my own eyes in November when I was down at the conference in Manchester. And you had the rank and file members wanting to present policy change. And they got up, they said their piece, and the normal members all took a vote, and we either changed it or didn't. So, you've got democracy there, which isn't evident in every party. And I've seen it from my own eyes. So if you were like, if there was anything that I didn't like, there's word in it, some of the documents that I'm not 100% solid on. But with the position I've got now, it's easy to get, run a table and say, this just needs tightened up a wee bit, just so there's no ambiguity with it. And there was ones of that on the trans issue, which we voted on as a party and changed and really tightened up. So there was no grey area. It was like a man's a man, a woman's a woman. That's kind of where our party is now. But you could interpret it slightly different if you went with the old policy. And it's that's why I'm there. And if there was things that I didn't like about it, I would either A, not have joined, or B, accepted that they weren't that important to me anyway, or C, presented an argument that we should change some policies, and if the party decided to do it, then that's kind of what we do. So
No,
I
I
just,
thought you were a member of the family party, Craig. Because the first time I
What's
met
that?
you was at the hate. The first time I met you, Craig, was at the hate crime bill protest outside Edinburgh
Yeah.
when you were speaking.
Oh,
When David
that's-
Richardson introduced you, and I thought you were a member of the family party.
no, it's quite weird though, because I spoke at two of his events or events that they were involved in. I was on his talk show ages ago, once, at least maybe twice. He asked me to be a member of his party. And then when I got arrested, he wanted to tell the world that I kind of wanted to get arrested and I'd benefit, and I was like a conspiracy theorist and far right and all these things. And I thought, well, you've changed your tune. So no, I was never a member of the party, and I wouldn't have. We had a discussion about it, and I told him why I wouldn't. And that was that.
They're a bit weak on immigration for me, the family party.
Right,
Which
so
I find
I
a bit
think,
hypocritical.
what, sorry?
I find it hypocritical that they're weak on immigration because they're staunch pro-life, which I agree on. But how can you be pro-life only for babies and the women? You can't be pro-life for every other Tom, Dick and Harry in the country we're letting illegals in. It doesn't make sense. The two go together for me.
Well, you'll need to come and go. Or what's the UKIP stance on pro-life? Does that not match you?
That's a good question. I've read their policy and it's not as pro-life as what you'd think. They want to downgrade from 24 weeks to 20 weeks, Craig.
Don't really think that's a bad thing, to be honest with you.
They want to do away with buffer
Sorry,
zones and
guys.
get it down to 20 weeks. So we're talking about 16 weeks as well.
I don't have a big problem with that, to be honest with you. I'll never be pregnant, so I think the people
Sorry,
should.
2 seconds. I've got people to feed. I'll be back in a sec.
Shona, we'll be away by the time you come back, pal. Thanks for coming on. You've got the people who should be making the decisions on this should be females. If I'm perfectly honest with you, I find that men would struggle to consider every single possible reason that a woman's pregnant. And if a woman decides to go ahead with a pregnancy, that's down to her. If a woman has situations where they find it hard, that should be down to her. I can, if I want, judge anybody
I
silently.
was actually looking at the abortion bill, Craig, and it was brought in by a Christian Church of Scotland guy, Lord Steele.
Going to do me a wee favour. See, when somebody's talking, going to let them talk, because you do it a lot with me and you've done it a lot with Shona earlier on. It's just a kind of, trying to be dignified, if you don't mind. But anyway, listen, I think we'll call it to a close now. I've been on for 33 minutes past my promised time because I've got something else to do tonight.
Sorry.
So,
Sorry,
thanks very
Craig.
much. Thanks very much.
Thank
for
you very
your time,
much.
guys. All right, guys. Well, listen, thanks very much to everybody that came up. Hopefully we can get even more people in, talk about more topics that you want to talk about, rather than me deciding every time I do a podcast what I want to talk about. And hopefully we can get, as the weeks go on, I'll maybe do one again next week. Then the following week I'm away on holiday, and then have a wee look and see how it's worked out. And if it's something that the community are enjoying, it's no problem hosting them. And thanks very much to everybody that came in. And thanks very much to the 2 of the 4 of you that remembered Houston may have a problem with your opening gambit. All right. So thanks very much.
Sorry about that. Been a pleasure.
See you later, Biggie.
You'll get a wee 2 minutes of the Cali trip because I don't know how to get it off. I put this on my video when I was talking about Cali, and once we hit to finish the stream, it will go into 2 minutes of Cali. So thanks very much, guys. Have a great